If your business needs you for every single decision, then you don't own a business, you own a very stressful job. I've been in AI for nearly a decade, building it, breaking it, and seeing what really works. And I'm here to call BS on the bad advice.
And I'm here to keep it human as we go up in the AI.
I'm James.
I'm Tanya, and welcome to Up in the AI. Okay, so before we get into this episode, James, what is it, if I'm listening, that I'm going to learn from today?
Well, I've worked with quite a few big business owners. And once you go beyond $1 million revenue, what you'll find is you become the biggest bottleneck. You're that key man. So what we're going to cover today is how you can use AI to remove yourself and ensure that your business continues to scale.
That sounds great, because I know from the conversation I have that this is a common problem, and sometimes you're unaware of where those bottlenecks exist. So I'm really keen to get into this. And before we do, we're going to hit into our favorite segment, which is the BS or no BS question round. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Your job is to say BS or no BS. And if you want to give a little bit of an explanation, that's all good. Are you ready?
I am.
Awesome. Question 1. Founders must approve everything in order to protect the quality.
This is absolute BS. The founder needs to set the strategic goals and make sure the team are aligned, but definitely not micromanage every situation.
Okay. 2. AI agents can run a business fully hands-free now.
Definitely BS. I know that the people running OpenClaw might say differently, but we're still about a year away from that.
Okay. 3. If your SOPs are messy, AI is not going to help you.
Definitely not going to be a huge help. It's all about bad data in, bad data out. You need to sort your data, your SOPs out if you want the AI to be effective.
4. You need expensive and custom tech to be able to help you remove bottlenecks.
Absolute BS. People have been removing bottlenecks in businesses for years and years and years before AI, before apps. So AI is great and it might do it quicker, but you don't necessarily need expensive tech.
Excellent. Okay. Well, let's move on then. So framing it as business owner listening in here, what are the things that you can suggest that's going to help them spot where bottlenecks exist in their business? And as an add to that, where and what are the real bottlenecks, the ones they should focus on?
So how to spot them and which are the big ones?
Yeah, how to prioritize them, I guess, in order of what to fix first.
I mean, there's something that I've done for quite a few years. I started doing it when I was a product coach. So I would work with business owners that wanted to implement some sort of tech into their business, internal technology to streamline, to make their business more efficient. And the first thing I'd ask them to do is actually go through a process of recording everything they do for a couple of weeks. You know, I do this task, I do this meeting, run through it. Then it's about highlighting, okay, what tasks did you actually like doing? What tasks moved the needle towards the greater goal? And you start to see a picture form. And especially there'll be a huge chunk of time that was as close to wasted as you can possibly get. And that's where to spot the first bottleneck. The one it might not actually be a business bottleneck as much as a founder bottleneck. But what I found is that the two go hand in hand, because when a founder has time to work on the business, to strategically think, then they often see how they can remove themselves, how they can employ AI, employ better talent. But when they're stuck in the trenches doing the thing day in, day out, they get tunnel vision. So I always start with the founder. And then I broaden that process out to start mapping the actual customer process. So you've mapped what does your founder do day to day by getting a snapshot of a couple of weeks. Then it's like, okay, what happens from start to finish to actually service my customers? And then you can see, right, where was there a time delay? Where was there a decision needed to be made by the founder that potentially was a decision that someone else could make, or even something that could have been automated?
Okay. What are the tips then? I've worked with lots of different individuals, and some are absolutely convinced that they are to be the person to make that decision or the person to do that task.
Yeah.
For whatever reason in their head, on the outside looking in, that seemed that you can see there's a bottleneck there, but that person's resisting letting go. How would you move them to a place to be able to see that it's important for them to move out of that decision-making process?
Yeah, we know somebody who's got this mentality.
Who's that?
Somebody that is, I can't say on the podcast.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about you or me. That's why I said it. Sorry.
No, not you
Think
or me. Well,
think
I
it could
am a
be.
bottleneck, but I do actively try to not be the bottleneck. This specific person, so he's usually behind on his work. His work is great. He's usually behind when he doesn't have any kind of buffer for unforeseen things to come about. And so when we talk about AI streamlining his workflow, he does use AI. And he feels as though he's using AI to the max. And in my opinion, he's probably using it to 10, 20% of its capabilities for what he does day to day. So how do you convince him? Or how have I gone about convincing him? I'm trying to show him. So with humans, this is a psychological thing. You can never push them. You can't argue your point. If they don't feel it, if they don't get it, they're not going to change their minds. The only way is really to gently show them and do it in a way that benefits them. Little by little, you add them more value. It's not a like, here, look what I did. You're wrong, I'm right. It's more like, oh, can I help with that? How is this? Get their feedback. Get them into the process. Get them to bring them along on the journey.
Absolutely. I love that. Asking questions also, would you suggest in terms of that, give it like, well, not say interview them, but in a discussion, you would kind of want to uncover, as well as what is it that they do as their core function within the business, but what is it that they would want to do if they had complete autonomy of where they want to spend their time, where would
Yep.
they want to spend more time, and see if that uncovers where there could be an opportunity for them to see, well, if you remove this to free up that extra time and we can do it systemized, you can spend more time over here doing what you love. Is that something that you think would work in this situation or a version of?
100%. 100%. And I would say that in most roles, when you're deploying AI or automations, um, the thing that is left is usually the human interaction. Now, this isn't the case with every role. Like, for instance, a developer, the thing that is left is, well, you've got the start bit, which is like the defining of the architecture, and the end bit, which is QAing to see whether the AI actually did a good job. So it's very different for that. But you think of a salesperson, um, when you take the research off the table, when you take the automated monotony of texting and maybe even doing some of those initial calls,
Yeah.
when you can get a contact, a lead booked in a calendar, and all that person has to do is come with their knowledge and their experience and read a report that's generated for them and then go and speak, eyeball that person and build rapport and close them, then you can do more of that. And I
Mhm.
hope that everyone listening here takes this to heart. Like, it's an opportunity to connect more with people. There's a lot about AI where people are thinking, oh no, everything's going to be automated. It's going to be robots talking to robots. And there will be a degree of that. But there's an
Mhm.
opportunity when you have more time for you to spend it with other humans in business and, of course, in your personal life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, if you were the founder sitting there listening to this thinking, maybe I sit here, maybe it's not me. What are the things that you would say? What are the questions they can ask themselves to find out if they are the bottleneck, and how would you guide them to uncover those?
Mm. So, if you've got a clear picture of what you as a founder does every single day or every single week,
Hmm.
um, you need to start running this through AI. There are
Okay.
prompts that we've created that you can find in our school community, Make Money with AI. I'm sure the link will be down below. And what this will highlight is, okay, you've got to do all of these different tasks. And we usually use the Eisenhower Matrix or some variation of it. It's
Okay.
like if something is urgent and important, it's usually something you need to keep. But as you kind of remove either the importance or the urgency, you start to see ways in which either AI can amplify what you do or even automate what you do. And that's a great thing from an individual. And then, as I mentioned before, you do something very similar on a business level. You're mapping out every single step and who's accountable for each step. And do you need the founder to be accountable for approving a color palette? I don't know. Like it's. I mean, this goes way beyond AI. It's about leadership. It's about how you design your company strategy. But if that is known, if people understand the pillars that drive the business, the ideals behind the business, and the core goals, whether that be the 10-year desired outcome or whether that be the next quarter's goal, if everyone's aligned to that, you shouldn't need to micromanage every single step. You should be able to step back and let your staff work. And if you can't, I would suggest that you've got a problem with your talent. You're not hiring the right people.
Yeah. And I would add to that, well, possibly two things. Either you've not communicated that effectively to the people you work with, like that you haven't checked their understanding on what is the mission, what's the purpose, what do we do, so that you can actually then shoulder the responsibility of them also coming to you saying, hey, I realize this seems to be taking a lot longer than, we want it to. Or I find myself doing this a lot in the day or in the week. I think there's a better way of doing it. You want them to almost be the eyes and ears to be able to come and problem solve for those things for you as well, right? So then you can work on them together and how you can fix that. It's not ideal if the founder is the only person who's got this as on their in their attention
Yep.
to going to solve problems in the business. That makes a lot of sense. I did hear a crazy stat that I think on average founders can save themselves somewhere between 8 to 15 hours a week. They can save themselves 8 to 15 hours a week by stepping out of these over making decisions, making too many decisions, being responsible for making too many decisions. There we go. That's probably where I'm at. Which seems like a lot. Is that something that you think would you agree with that? Is that something that you found when you're working with businesses?
Yeah, I mean, one of our core clients runs a leadership program, and these are the kind of things that she goes through: how to highlight the bottlenecks and
Mm-hmm.
how to extricate yourself from being the bottleneck.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of that comes down to the foundations.
Yep.
Um, the decision making process. I think Dan Martell has a really, really good way of managing his staff. So
Yep.
he and I'm sure many people before him have said, never come to me with a problem that you don't also have at least a proposed solution to.
Mm.
And when he's approving things, he might have that final decision. But what he doesn't want to do is go deep into every single problem and try and devise the solutions. What he wants to do is kind of validate whether his team are on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that the time taken to make a decision, the time spent with that team member is significantly reduced.
Mm. That's powerful stuff. Okay. So you've mentioned, documenting what you or others in your business are doing on a daily basis. And you said there are AI tools to help you with that. Are there any that you would recommend?
Well, I would just use your LLM of choice, to be honest.
Okay.
We've created GBTs, we've created projects for this and prompts. What you need to do is bring in the information that you've collected. And look, you can do this also on the cheap if you want. Rather than doing your full week to 2 weeks, you could just import your task management system and your calendar, bring it all together, scan in your written checklist if that's what you're using, and
Uh-huh.
give it to AI to analyze. I
Mhm.
would highly recommend tracking time because
Mhm.
usually what's in your to-do list isn't a fair reflection or a true reflection of what you actually do, the
Yeah.
minute to minute.
Yeah.
But if you want to just have a first view on it, there will be some big outliers there regardless. You can
Yeah.
just import that into Claude, mention the Eisenhower Matrix,
Yeah.
mention you want to prioritize, and let it do the work. And the great thing with Claude in particular is that you can then go, please visualize this for me, and it will create a beautiful interactive presentation or a dashboard for you to actually see where your time is going. You can drill down into it. You can have that lovely back and forth with Claude where you can give it more information, and it will solve a few bottlenecks, 100%.
Okay. That's great advice. And so I heard somewhere around the traps that one of the best practices you can do in this activity is documenting or delegating, sorry, not documenting, delegating based on outcome rather than the task itself. Is this something that you agree with? Yeah, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I firmly believe that in a business, everyone should have clear KPIs. Even yourself as a founder, you should set yourself clear KPIs. And that should push you towards the outcome. We hear a lot about things like 4-day work weeks, flexibility, working from home. And, I'm feeling if my staff are kicking goals, then I don't mind if they take an afternoon off or even a day. Like if they've hit their goals for the month in the first 2 weeks, then why not? And if you take that mentality, then people will generally work more efficiently. If you track time and that's your metric, then people are going to find ways to do things slowly, or to do busy work. So
Mm,
it's your choice, really.
mm. Okay. Is there, I've got some questions to ask just in terms of quick fire questions to get,
Mhm.
you know, everyone else's brains thinking a little bit more. Is there anything you want to say on what we've discussed before we move to that section?
I think what you want to do, the LLMs now are at a point, even without significant training, you don't need to have a dedicated SaaS anymore. The time of micro SaaS is coming to an end, in my opinion. So after you've done all of the work that we've talked about, mapping it out, I suggest that you document as many of your processes and SOPs as you can. Stick them into a project, in ChatGPT, Claude, or a gem in Gemini, whatever it is, and then just start the process of having a conversation. Because I'm not suggesting that you should follow everything that AI says. You're the expert in your industry. You are the one that should be, at the helm. But talking it through, with someone, or in this case, an AI that has all of that context can be incredibly powerful. And you might go deep into bottlenecks and issues within your business or what you're doing personally that you haven't realized.
Hmm.
And bottlenecks can be more than just, hey, I'm a blocker getting a task done. It might be that I'm not, inspiring my team. It might be that I'm not communicating properly. So much of a founder's bottleneck is actually in their leadership skills or their ability to strategize. And then the only other thing I would add is, and this is just perfect for any strategy, is always track. So if you're going, okay, I'm a bottleneck in this, I'm going to change something. Don't just change it and move on. Change it, track it, make sure you've actually overcome the bottleneck. Have definitely been cases with clients where they've changed something, assumed that it was for the better, maybe implemented an AI they did not need to implement,
Mm,
and then actually realized that either it's cost them more time or the quality has dropped significantly.
hmm.
Anytime you make a change, if you're a business owner generating more than $1 million, it is absolutely critical that you test and ensure that that change was actually positive.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay. Great. Quick fire questions. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. What's one decision that you should never delegate, even with AI support?
One decision that you should never delegate. Um, the long-term business strategy and the brand ideals behind the business.
Mm, agreed with that one. What's the first workflow a founder should automate this week?
Oh, the easy one is meeting transcripts. Um, maybe I doubt the founder is the one actually taking the notes, but somebody in the business is, and it's costing them time, and they're probably not sending it around to everyone involved. This automation is the easiest, and it's the one that can add the most amount of value to the people in the meeting.
100%. What metric proves you've actually removed a bottleneck?
In business, I reckon there's only one of two metrics in the end that mean anything. Your time as a founder, or the revenue generated by the business. So either you're going to be able to pull back, spend less time, and the business generates the same amount of revenue, or you spend the same amount of time, but because you're no longer a bottleneck, you're doing more efficient things, and thus the business is generating more money.
Mm. And you would say that the same for a team member as well. Like it's time or money that is being
Yes.
saved
Yeah.
or yeah,
Yeah.
increased.
And
Great.
as a founder, I would have the mentality that you can't buy back time. So as employees, time and money, they probably go a bit hand in hand. As a founder, you probably start to really value your time even more than the revenue generated.
Mm. Yeah, makes sense. Last one. What's a red flag that your AI system is creating more noise than leverage?
That you're having to manage the AI every single day to get the results that you want. That would definitely be one issue. I've seen it myself. You build something and it just doesn't quite work. The concept was great, the strategy was great, but the execution means that you're having to do more work to manage it or to refine it than you would have done just to have done it in the beginning
And is
yourself.
there like a time frame on that? You know, um, would you give it an X amount of time? Because I know that, a little, learning, teaching the AI is like a very valuable thing
Mm.
to do. And of course, there's going to be, even like with a human, there's going to be things that don't quite, as you say, work and the output's not quite what you want. Is there a time frame you would give to be able to sort of go through that learning process with it before you say, like, it's not ever going to be able to meet our requirements, or is it more a case by case basis?
I think there's a multiplier here. So, if you're trying to automate a task that costs you 15 minutes and you spend 15 hours automating it, I think that's gone over the amount of multiples that actually warrant you doing that
Right.
work.
Okay.
Um, but I mean, that multiple could be there's a there's a whole equation that would go into this, right? Because it's also the frequency that you're doing that task. So if
Mm.
it's a 15-minute task that you do 3 times a day, well, then it starts to look a little bit different than a 15-minute task that you do once a month.
Hmm.
So this is something that I would actually ask AI. I think AI is much better suited to answer this question. You tell
Okay.
it, you give it the context. This is the task. This is the importance or urgency of the task. This is how often I do it. This is usually how often it takes me.
Yeah.
How much time should I spend? Where's my return going to be?
Hmm.
The This isn't a quick fire question anymore, but the other thing to consider is when you try to solve a problem, are there other related issues that you're also solving or semi-solving as a result?
Right.
So, for instance, if you have to build an SOP to automate a process, that SOP is valuable for general training or training other AI solutions, then it has more value associated to it.
Well, that's the end of the quick fire questions. I think what we can summarize from today's conversation is that we have helped founders learn to spot and how to handle and document where bottlenecks exist. Is there
100%.
any final words, James?
Well, I think, as we always say, you need to take action. What's the best place to do that? It's inside of our school community. In there, there's courses, but what I think is more pertinent for this is that I've got a prompt library. In there, you'll have my Eisenhower prompt, along with a few others that will give you ideas on how you can streamline your own workflow as a founder and potentially the workflows of others within your business.
Yeah, awesome. So when you join the community, it's free. DM James or I and type Eisenhower, and we will send
Yeah.
you. We'll send
If
you
you
the
can
link.
spell it.
Yeah, exactly. Spell it how you want. I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, what's all this nonsense? Yeah. And we can just point you straight to that particular resource. And then we can, ask us any questions as well. Like, we're there as a sounding board. We do a weekly transformation call where we are live together, mostly together, answering your questions, either what you've learned on the podcast, anything that you've got going on in your business. We're there to really help you kind of basically, what is that next step? What is the challenge you're facing right now? And how can we guide you through that so that you can come out the other side? And again, this is all free. So definitely dive in, take action, like James said, and because that's really when you're going to start to move the needle and create more of what you want. Great. So I think that is it.
Yeah, great. We'll see you next time.
We will see you up in the AI.